How about now? How about now? It. Yeah. That's good. I practiced. I thought it was working ahead of time, so. All right. 7:59. Close enough, I think. Okay, so the plan is we're going to go through the wipers. We're going to go through the breakover angle numbers. And then we're going to talk. I had someone ask me to talk about the Tesla low ranking on the JD Power and Associates thing that came out. They had that. They had the worst ranking on JD Power and Associates. And if you guys want me to talk about something, throw it up in the comments. And then lastly, I was going to talk about the sales numbers that just came out for Tesla in general. Okay, so wipers. This is we talked about this last week, and one of you all who I don't think is, let's see here. This is Jason. I don't want to use his whole name, Jason S. So this is basically the first time we're going to go through wipers. That's going to take a little more time. Then we're going to go through breakover. Both of those things came to me from you guys. Different ones out there that are, I think Brian is just a passionate enthusiast, but then I can't remember now, the guy that gave me the breakover stats, I put it on the file so I remember when I get to it, but he's a mechanical engineer, so I'm trying to actually get people that are know more than me to contribute and then talk about things and share things during the live stream. So wipers, okay, floating Cybertruck. Yeah, we could talk about that if we have time. Let me put that, I'll write that down. Float. Okay. So here's the thing you guys should, you should be looking at. I have this article from Car and Driver up about the windshield wiper patent that Tesla applied for in September of last year, basically. So the first thing is that speaks of interesting timing, so to speak. And the reason why this patent is of interest is that the mechanism, and hopefully I'll be able to explain it with the follow-on photos, but the mechanism allows a single wiper blade to make an entire pass over a very large windshield with just one wiper using kind of a clever electromagnetic system. So I am going to, let's see if I can get this to work here. I got so much stuff on my screen. Let's see. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this because I can't see when the camera's on. So this is, let me just make sure because I'm kind of blind because I have a presenter mode on. Can you guys see that? Could you see the presentation thing I put up? I'm skeptical. No laser wipers, trust me. Did you guys see that when I put the little presentation up? Because when I put it up, it like blacks out my whole screen, so I can't see the chat while I have it up. Well, I'm just gonna assume that you could see it. Yes, perfect for a rectangular flat windshield. Okay, Let's put it back up. All right, Jason S. That was our contributor, which I will gladly give his last name once I get his permission. But him and I were corresponding like late yesterday, and he didn't actually give me permission to use his full name. So I want to make sure y'all know that this wasn't my, I mean, I wish it was my idea, but it's not. Okay. So essentially, the idea here is, you guys, this is the patent. The wiper is a single blade, and it would be very close to the hood. But the real question is, how do you actually achieve that? So this is what I think is brilliant. He actually thought of a mechanism that would actually allow the front panel to lift up from the driver's, from the where the passenger side is, not the normal side, whatever the opposite side of the normal side. So the idea is you could use an actuator, which I'll show you his model here in a second, but it would essentially allow the frunk to lift up and still, when this is, and still allow you to open the frunk from the normal way. So let me show you this. So the idea here is, here is the swing bolt, or, I don't know my terms here, but that's the hinge. That's the hinge that would allow this to open like a normal frunk, right? But then this is a little actuator that would actually push that hinge mechanism up and expose this, where the wiper mechanism would be buried or hidden whenever you need it. So then this is just the way this wiper works, is it kind of has this, it starts up and then the mechanism at the bottom kind of forces it to go high and then come down low as it's sweeping from left to right and right to left. There's actually another video on YouTube that explains it. So this is my theory, or this is what some people think. There's only one picture of the frunk open, and somebody said, hey, this could be a windshield wiper can. Now, I don't know that it is or it isn't. Here's my thinking. The Motor Trend guys, I think that's all I have on that. Okay. So the Motor Trend guys, when they did all their pictures, they basically got to look underneath the car. They got to look inside the car. They essentially got to look at every single component except the frunk. Why didn't Tesla let them look at the frunk? So it stands to reason. All things, I've been trying to think of different types of, like the air blade, or what was the other one? I can't remember what the other one was. Lasers. I don't know. Lasers. I don't even know how you could even do that. And some people have speculated that you could even, the windshield would be treated in such a way, and the angle positioned at such a way that the water or mud or whatever wouldn't hit the windshield. I don't think, you'd have to really prove that. I think, all things being equal, the simplest answer is the best explanation. And to me, the simplest answer is, this design is made and patented to go in the Cybertruck because they're trying to solve a new problem. Also, if you read this article, it's super interesting. The wiper actually takes less power. This mechanism takes less power because of its electromagnetic slider mechanism. But it comes out shockingly close to the reveal of the Cybertruck. And would it be such a big deal? No, except for no one can figure out where the wipers are. So it totally makes sense. You can solve this problem. You can have this super flush, transition from the frunk to the windshield. But then if you need the wipers, you just hit a little actuator. The back edge pivots up and exposes this very clever wiper mechanism that is got an extremely thin profile. So anyway, let's see. What is... You guys have any questions about that? Comments? Criticisms? When I saw his pictures, I was like, dude, I think this solves it. Plus, it makes sense why there are no pictures of the front. Why didn't, of all the pictures they took, why didn't they get a picture of the front? Same thing I wonder about that cargo rack thing, but all right. You have unread iMessages in the 4 digits. I actually don't. Well, yeah, I probably do, but it's complicated. Let's just say I'm not really good at marking off or reading every message. So if you saw how many messages, you know what I'm going to do? Probably, I think you guys will enjoy this. This year when I'm out in a storm, I'm going to do I'm going to capture what that experience is like. Because I haven't told you guys much about what I do or my regular job, but we have one of the largest snow removal businesses in the city, and we're managing, we plow about 37 million square feet of parking lots in 4 to 6 hours. So that's like, I don't know, 100 super Walmarts. So, it gets a little crazy. So what happens is we get these text streams that are going bonkers, and I'm not reading all of them every time. So now, and I just don't clear them off because, they end up, those conversations fade into the distance, and I don't see them again until the next winter. So, but yeah, I'm not really good about clearing that stuff off. I don't know. Let's see, Fat Cat. I'm not sure how you keep the water seal from breaking. So here's my thought. It's an experimental idea. They may end up not being able to do it. So, because I think if it was ready for prime time, they would have showed it. They would have announced it. So the fact that they've been so quiet about the wipers makes me believe they want to go in a particular direction, but they don't want to get themselves out over a barrel. And so, but I do think this is a plausible explanation in terms of water. Now, I would just say that you guys all know that I ride motorcycles off-road. I have a fairing that allows me, I can put my phone and other things that are not right behind the fairing, but they're, in other words, you would look at it and go, it's going to get wet. But what happens is, as you're driving, you end up, there's kind of an air curtain that's created. And so I never actually get any moisture on the phone, even when I've been in really bad rain, and it never gets there. So I'm wondering if there might be, and to answer your question, Fat Cat, if there might be an air curtain effect that would prevent water from getting in there. But this is all a speculation. But to me, it makes more sense than any of the other crazy speculations that I've heard about it. All right. So, Kansas City. I live in Kansas City. I thought I've said that like on a bunch of. Yeah, well, we actually used to have a branch in Minnesota, so I do know it's a big deal in Minnesota. But it's kind of funny. Snow removal's funny. We don't get to do it as much here in Kansas City. So up in Minnesota, we used to jokingly say that people were born with a plow on the front of their truck in Minnesota. Everybody knows how to do it, and everyone kind of is used to it. But we're in this place where it's not like that, and doesn't happen all the time in the same way. And so people never get really great at doing it like they do up there, or, anywhere where they get 40 or 60 or 80 inches of snow. I haven't seen anything about a laser wiper patent, but I will. I haven't heard anything about the laser wipers except just speculation. So I'll look into the laser wiper patent though. Um, the transparent. Well, yeah, I know the windshield is going to repel water, but I don't think so. Personally, I don't think the NHTSA or whoever does all the regulations would allow, even if you could show in a lab that it worked, something like that, not having a wiper, it could be so catastrophic. If there's 1% of the times that the hydrophobic coating doesn't work, that could be like game over. Strikes me that you really would have to do a lot of testing before you could like say no wiper. Yeah, and that's the other thing, mud. I would say the same thing with if you live where I do and talking about snow, the salt spray, everything gets covered with this fog of salt dust for days after there's a big storm, and that's a different. It's like it just gets everywhere, and so if you're like, for instance, if you're stopped and you don't have any air current, that mist is still out there, it seems like it would settle. Anyway. Da, 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 da. Yeah, well, right. I think, look, there's no way this isn't going to have a wiper system. There's no way. It has to have a wiper system. But, okay, so I think, unless you guys have anything else, I think that's probably enough with the wipers. So let's look at Breakover. All right, this comes compliments of Ryan in Colorado. Ryan is our first contributing engineer, official engineer. So he is a mechanical engineer, and he did this spreadsheet, which is pretty epic because one of the things, I didn't even know how to calculate breakover angle. So, and I still don't know how to do it. I know that this is his calculations, and so hopefully these are correct, but we'll find out. But it's the best thing I've had so far to actually contribute. So I got into a conversation with Ryan, and let me talk about the fleet vehicle question if we have time. I've gotten that question a couple of times, so I'll talk about that if we have time. All right, so this conversation with Ryan got started. Ryan is actually he's never done any serious off-roading, but he is really excited to do it. So, and hadn't thought about it, as several people on the channel that have commented that until they started watching my videos, they really didn't think about off-roading as being that interesting. So, and they're coming around. So one of the things that we started talking about was he asked if there was anything that I wanted help with solving as far as a mechanical engineer, like could he contribute to the channel in some way? And I said, yeah, most definitely trying to figure out this issue of two things that relate to off-roading, the breakover angle and the tipping point, as far as like where would the Cybertruck sit relative to its peers. So if you look at the one thing that's interesting is that, and obviously this is the case, it has different numbers based on where the Cybertruck is at in its positioning from the air cylinders. So he kind of did both scenarios. He did the 8 inches. That would be the the lowest, we don't know. We're kind of speculating. I think that wasn't the reveal though. For some reason, I think they said 8 inches of travel. I need to go back and look at that now. Not travel, but the wheel travel is separate from how far the air cylinder can move. But let's use this for now, and if it's wrong, we'll fix it later. So the center of gravity number is here. So he used that in order to come up with the tipping angle. So if you look at the tipping angle, so now I hope I have this right. If he sees this later, I'll explain what breakover is when I get to it. I will explain. Let me explain what I'll explain. I'll explain what breakover angle does for you, what it actually means, like as far as the angles that are involved. I don't know. I just know that the higher the number, the better. And so what's great is we can actually look at some other vehicles and compare it. So the thing that's really impressive to me, look at this. Think about this, 48.3 degrees in order to tip over. That's almost 10 degrees more than every other vehicle that is out here. The Tacoma, that's surprising. My Tacoma is so low, I'm just stunned that this has 6 degrees. 6 degrees more before it can tip over. And it just speaks to the point that, again, we're going to see the Cybertruck do some amazing things that no other vehicle can do. Now, it's not going to be by me. I'm not that skilled off-road, but there are people that really know how to push off-road vehicles. And we're going to see some amazing things in terms of, so where you want that is when you're doing what's called these lateral traverses, where you have to get up on the side of a mountain or hill and you got to traverse it laterally. And this means you can be, so steep. I can't even imagine being at 48 degrees. That's terrifying, but that's amazing. So, look at this. Mako Shark says, breakover angle is max supplementary angle between the front and back wheels before it bottoms out. Exactly. To him, that means something. But to me, supplementary, I don't even know. See, what would have to happen here is he would have to patiently explain to me what that actually means. So, let's see. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, say something in the questions and I'll address it. Yes, you're right. I don't know how many people have seen other videos that I've made, but in order to belabor explaining things that maybe people have seen, I'm going to assume it. And then if you say something, I will try and close the gap. So, in terms of breakover angle, the thing that you're looking at is who has the highest numbers. So this means that, okay, breakover angle. That's what I was going to explain, the consequences of breakover angle. When you're off-roading, you oftentimes experience a situation where there is a rock or a ridge or something that would really create a potential for you to get high centered. So you would just imagine it's a rock like this. As you traverse it, the wheels straddle that point and make it so that the body of the truck actually comes to rest on that high point. And potentially you get stuck or you get a lot of damage to your vehicle. So the higher the breakover, the less likely when you're making this is especially common with rocks. So you'll see like you come up to a section where there's a rock. It could also be a tree. You have to go over a tree. So you can a lot of times you can drive your tire up over the tree, but then you come down and you get centered or you get stuck on the tree or the rock. So what you want is you don't just want, so angle of approach and angle of departure are the front and back of the trucks. So in that same tree scenario, as you're coming up to the tree, you want a steeper angle. Like if you're coming up to a tree like this, your bumper hits the tree and now you can't get over the tree. What you want is you want your bumper to be like this so you can get up to the tree and climb over it. And then when you're getting across the tree, you want on the same end, you don't want your bed to be flat because then now the bed can get stuck and push up on it. It's the same thing with breakover angle, except now you're not talking about the front or the back. You're talking about the middle. So the problem, why this is such a big deal, and why what's really important for you to look at here is the comparison to the Wrangler Rubicon. So one way you can increase your breakover angle is by putting the tires, the front axle and the back, or they don't have axles. The Cybertruck won't have solid axles, but they have axles. Anyway, you get my point. Front tires, back tires. You push them closer together. What that does is it makes it so that as your front tire is coming down, the back tire is starting to come up. So you tend to have a problem when that's the reason why shorter wheelbase vehicles like Jeeps and Tacomas are so popular off-road is because they have the shorter wheelbase that allows them to have a higher breakover angle. Okay. So if you look at, for instance, here, the Raptor and my Tacoma TRD have about the same breakover angle. Now, the Raptor is sitting, it's 3 inches taller, but because its wheelbase is longer, it needs that extra height in order to have the same breakover angle as a Tacoma, the shorter wheelbase. So what is extremely shocking here is that you have the ability to get up to a 24-degree breakover angle with the Cybertruck, which puts it at the same level as a stock Jeep Rubicon. That is I had no idea. That is amazing. So the only way the Rubicon gets higher breakover angle is he has a 4-inch lift on here. So you can get a higher breakover angle where it's really, that's why you see the super heavy duty off-road Jeeps. They're lifted on larger tires. So it gives them a higher degree of breakover. But the Cybertruck having the capacity to be in the same league as a Jeep, a stock Jeep, is insane. I'm not sure how you would even get I'd be curious to see what you could do if you lifted the Tacoma. That would be really interesting. I'm going to have Ryan put that in there and see what happens if we put a 4-inch lift on the Tacoma. How high do you have to lift the Tacoma in order to get in this same range? So probably if you did a 4-inch lift on the Tacoma, it would beat it. It would probably slightly beat it. But again, that's because the wheels are closer together. Does that make sense? What's the breakover angle on a typical lowrider? What do you mean? I don't even know. Does he? I could probably, for giggles, we could probably put in something, but I don't know. A lowrider has like 1 inch of clearance, right? It would be, yeah, a degree. Okay. So does that explain? Do you guys understand not breakover angle as a number, but as a concept? Does that help you kind of understand why why it's such a big deal when you're going off-road? Well, yeah. So turning radius, that is where, that's where if you could have something like tank turning radius would be solved. So then you would be primarily, if you could do something like tank turn, and it wouldn't have to be a pure tank turn. Actually, I would prefer it not to be a pure tank turn. I'd rather just be able to pivot the front of the truck around. That to me is a big deal. Again, in off-roading, turning radius makes a big difference, especially so if you're off-road, you get in these situations where you have to make a switchback, and a lot of these trails have been kind of carved into the hillside, and there's not a lot of room to normally do what you do with the truck, where you swing it out wide and then bring it in. And that's why I would really like there to be some kind of vectored steering, or vectored, not steering, but not steering, just differential, being able to differentially control the wheel spin of the tires, similar to what they can do with Rivian can do with tank turn, would have some very big advantages in a, granted, relatively niche situation, but that would be beneficial. Okay, so okay, we'll move past that. So next I want to talk, okay, let me address the fleet thing real quick. So here's the thing. Our fleet is only a third pickup trucks. So we have 18 trucks. That consists of, I think we have five. I think we have 5 pickups. The rest of our trucks are kind of specific to landscaping. So we have 2 vans for doing irrigation. We need the step van for all the parts. And then they're called cab over trucks. They look kind of like European trucks, the snub nose with the square type cab. And then they have a bed that's designed for us to drive mowers up onto the back of it. So those aren't an option to use. On the remaining of our trucks, every one of them has a snowplow. And so so there's no word yet on whether or not you will be able to mount a snowplow on the front of the truck without voiding the warranty. So you have an issue where you could probably figure out a way to mount a plow on it. But plows are like 800, 1,000 pounds. They're very heavy. And so, in a lot of trucks, if you put a plow on it, you void the warranty. So that's why for us, that's a really big part. So we can't, and this is the way commercial world is. There's all kinds of niches, and we use it for certain things that I don't know if the Cybertruck will be able to do yet. So if we find out that, yes, you can put a plow on it, and yes, you can, and yes, there are aftermarket companies providing plows for the Cybertruck, then we'll probably test it out. But it would be something where it would be kind of an incremental thing. So we're not a really good situation to use because of the specific way that we use our trucks. So anyway, that I just wanted to, Okay. So let's talk about this. So one of the questions, I think, especially if you're an early reservation holder, and you're anxious about the quality of the Cybertruck coming off the line, And I can understand why you would be. Honestly, I wouldn't hold that against you. However, if you are an early reservation holder and we can swap, I will gladly swap with you. You can be 475,000 back in line, and I will gladly roll the dice, and I'll gladly take the first one off the line or the 1,000th one or whatever. I am very confident that the quality of the Cybertruck is going to be very good. So let me talk about this particular report. So JD Power and Associates does this initial quality study, and this was the first year Tesla was included in the study, and Tesla ranked dead last on initial quality. So I think there are legitimate reasons why people view a lot of the JD Power. If you guys have seen some of those YouTube videos kind of making fun of JD Power. But the reality is I think it's a legitimate survey, but I think it really misrepresents some things. So if you guys don't watch Tesla Daily or listen to the Tesla Daily podcast, I would, if you're still interested after what I cover here, I would go watch the video where he addresses this. I think he does a really good job of pointing out some of the flaws of how this works. But let me show you something that's useful. Okay, so here's the chart of the initial quality report. And what you notice here is that Dodge and Kia are at the top of the list. And then at the bottom of the list, before you get to Tesla, are all of these, luxury brands. And then you get, here's Tesla, way down here, all by itself. So the thing that's really interesting is that the initial quality can be about anything. So it tends to be two things. So 25% of the initial quality problems are related to the infotainment system. And a lot of those tend to be about the system being complicated or people not understanding how to use it, and they're frustrated by it. And so you tend to see these more sophisticated vehicles tending to be at the bottom of the list. The other thing is that the longer a vehicle, like if you start building a vehicle and you don't make any major changes, the longer you build that vehicle, you keep producing that same vehicle, the better you get. So what tends to happen is as people come out with new major updates, their initial quality tends to fall. And then as they build that out over time, it tends to go up. That being said, I don't think there's any dispute that Tesla has had issues with the fit and finish of their products. And while they've been getting better, there is certainly they still kind of struggle in some basic things. And one of those big things, if you guys have watched Sandy Monroe on his Model Y teardown, and I'm going to show a section of one of his videos here in a second, but one of his big peeves is the paint. And that's one of the big issues Tesla seems to have a problem with, is getting the paint, the high quality paint job right on their cars. So is that going to be a problem with the Cybertruck? I don't think so. I mean, you're painting whatever in frames. I don't even know what you're painting in the Cybertruck. There's just not much paint. So that throws out that thing. I still think there's going to be little glitches in the first batch of the Cybertrucks that come out. But here's what I want to offset that with. I think that this is, if you could criticize Tesla about anything, it would be the fit and finish of especially, like welds, the seams, little things like hinges and stuff. But here's what I wanted to show you. I don't know if any of you guys are subscribers to Consumer Reports. This is this is live. This isn't an article. I actually have a subscription to Consumer Reports. And Tesla Model S has one of the highest Consumer Reports grade, and the Model 3 is close. Now, the Model X has problems, and I'll bet a lot of that has to do with those doors. And they don't have enough data yet on the Y. So that to me is something to think about. So Consumer Reports is looking at a bunch of things, but what they really are looking at is reliability and the quality of, like, how happy are the people who buy them with their vehicle. And this is I think this tends to be a much more lasting reflection, or it takes into account a longer picture of the vehicle. And this is literally one of the highest in the industry. So here I wanted to show you this. So according to multiple sources, Tesla has the highest customer loyalty of all car brands. So the people who buy Teslas have the highest propensity to go out and either want to purchase a Tesla again, or actually do purchase a Tesla again. They have the highest customer loyalty score of any brand. Think about that. They've only been around really producing cars for 10 years. So look at this. This is another survey. This was done in Europe. Tesla, this was a survey done with 60,000 people. Tesla is the most loved brand of all car brands out there. So I'm not going to talk about this. This elaborates on some of the flaws that just go watch Rob's video over at Tesla Daily. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the comments once, I can load this. YouTube does this funny thing where I post this and it takes like 12 hours to process it before I can put in any notes. So it's weird. Okay. So I'm going to see, hopefully you guys can hear this. I just want to play you this okay. This is the very last video Sandy Monroe did in reference to the Model Y. Well, he did another one, a Q&A one after this, but this was his summary of the Model Y. And if you haven't watched these comparisons, Sandy Monroe started with the Model 3 and he he found so many flaws in the Model 3. There were scads of them. And then when they got the Model Y, he noticed that there were substantial improvements on almost every level compared to the initial Model 3 that they got, a couple years ago. So I just want to play you this one section. I hope the sound comes out.
It's minor, but at the end of the day, these guys here are doing something that's a step change beyond everyone else. And this car should be a wake-up call for anyone who's manufacturing anything, regardless of whether it's a cell phone or a car or an airplane or anything else in the marketplace. The continuous improvement that Dr. Deming talked about and focused on, which was on the factory floor, to make improvements every day in every way, this has been now applied to the product design venue. And we better take note because this is the new way of doing business.
Okay. So I hope you guys heard that. If you didn't hear it, basically this runs from minute 1.59 to 2:38 in this video. And he's just saying this. He nitpicks in this video about some of the things that he would change, but his position as somebody that this is what they do. They tear down vehicles. They study them. They look at what different companies do, strengths and weaknesses. And he's saying this Tesla's way of improving from their first mass production model to their second one is unlike anything he's ever seen, because they literally have the ability, if they see a flaw on the assembly line, they fix it. They don't wait to get they don't wait till the next model to fix it. They fix it then and there, and they incorporate the improved process into their vehicle design. And so the last thing I just want to show you is that this is some quotes that, or this is a quote from Sandy Munro after he tore it down, and then he had another one as a test drive, and he said basically, this is an amazing car, worth every penny. And he said, he basically goes in here to say, I will tell you that I've already recommended this 4 or 5 times if you want an EV. And I've had a chance to drive almost every one of them. And you wanted one for a decent price. That's probably worth every penny and will keep its valuation in the future. So my whole point of saying this, and why I'm so confident that I gladly swap places with somebody that's 500th or 1,000th or 2,000th, is it's not going to end. It's not going to end. Their improvement's not going to end from the improvement from the Model 3 to the Model Y. Yes, they are. It's a new kind of, materials, and they're incorporating some new things, and there's going to be some kinks that they have to work out. I'm confident that they're going to work them out, and that they'll actually be better at making vehicles by the time the Cybertruck is produced than the gap between the Model 3 and the Model Y. Even despite the fact I understand it's totally different, I don't think they're going to fail. I'm confident. I would swap. That's all I'm saying. I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying that's my confidence level with all the research I've done. Okay. I'm going to look. I just want to scroll through here and see if there's any other questions. I will. Okay, so the volume didn't show up. I guess the volume didn't come through in that on the video. So what I will do once the video gets posted, I will put that in the notes as soon as I can. I'll put a link to the video, and I'll put a timestamp in there for anyone that wants to actually see what he said. Okay, last thing is Tesla sales. Okay, so Tesla, why, so here's why I like to talk about the business of Tesla and not just the Cybertruck. So if you take our company, you can't divorce the product that we produce from who we are as a business. There's not a separation there. Who we are as a company is what we are producing as a product. And the thing to remember, not to remember, I mean, you might already feel this way. For me personally, as a business person, I think the viability of the Cybertruck to be as awesome as it is rests on the business foundation that Tesla has. And if they can be successful and they can make more incremental profit than their competitors, what they're going to do, what every business does, is they take most of that money and they reinvest it in their business. They look for every way that they can grow, they can improve their quality and improve the customer experience. What you want to do is you want to make it so that nobody can compete with you. That's the ultimate. If you can create so much distance between yourself and everyone else that it just isn't practical to compete with you, then you win. And the way you get there is by using this flywheel of the business in order to fund R&D, expansion, whatever, the supercharger network and all this other stuff. So the only reason I say this is this to me was shocking. I did not expect Tesla to have this kind of a divergence. So I'm not sure if you guys saw what the other companies' numbers were, but this Car and Driver article does a really good job of going through. So Tesla was basically down 5%. Is that right? Yeah, about 5%, 6%. So from the same quarter last year to this year, their sales, their deliveries were down 5 or 6%. Look at what everyone else was. Audi 35%, BMW 40%, Fiat Chrysler 39%, Ford 33%, GM 34%, Honda 26%, Hyundai probably the best at 18%, Kia 25%, Mazda was only down 9.6%. Not bad, pretty good. The average of every automaker was to be down around 30 to 35%. Tesla was down 5 or 6%. So that's impressive to begin with, but here's why it's even more impressive. Most auto companies have massive amounts of inventory in their supply chain. So like Ford and General Motors, et cetera, they have something like 80 to 100 days of inventory going into the recession. So they had plenty. They could have literally stopped producing and sold off their inventory for the whole quarter. Tesla had something like 20 days or 15 days worth. So essentially, they were constrained from delivering vehicles because they just didn't have them available. There weren't enough, especially in China and probably Europe. So the fact is that they probably, if they weren't so constrained, if they had more inventory like everyone else, they probably would have actually had a positive quarter. When you think about that, blows my mind. That's remarkable. That's the kind of business performance that lets you spend money in new plants, spend money on R&D, spend money on more superchargers, spend money on a laser windshield wiper system or whatever they decide to do. It gives the business so much freedom to experiment and be creative and take risks that no one else has. Everybody, they're all falling behind Tesla, and it's accelerating, and that makes their options less and less available. So anyway, that's it for anyway. Yeah, you're gonna have to go back, and I wanted to lead with the wipers because I thought that was what everyone want. I don't want to hang on to the end to give the good stuff in case people got to bail. Okay, so let's see. Any questions? I'm not sure. What time is it? 8:51. Yeah, we can. I think. Any questions? Anything else? I don't mind logging off. If you guys don't have anything, okay. Well, I think that's it. Yeah. I don't have anything else. We'll catch you next week. All right, guys. Bye.